Ladies and gentlemen, boils and ghouls, creatures of the night, this is the Full Moon channel, this is Horror Movie Mondays, and this is my intro. Alright, so this is week 5 in Franchise Wars. I decided to change up the intro coming into the movie reviews portion of this. Y'all let me know down in the comments if you like that better or if you like the original. I'm not sure about it, but I wanted to do something a little bit different for this one than I do for the recipe videos. So, part 5. Well, the bottom 2 was really easy to pick on this one. The other 2, you're wondering how is there 2 when TCM kind of ends after the 4th one. Well, that was the original run. I'm including the remakes, the prequels, and all that stuff into this. So there will be 4 ranked this time. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, Halloween 5, Nightmare 5, and Friday 5. So, like I was saying, the bottom 2 is really easy to pick. They are absolutely on that steep slope and headed for the bottom of the barrel, both of them. The number 2 place, yeah, that was pretty easy. The number 1 place, yeah, that was pretty easy. So, let's go ahead and get started with number 5, and here we go. Alright, so number 4 on our countdown here of the 5th entries is going to be Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. So Halloween 4 was really such an awesome return to form. It really went back to what they had done with 1 and 2. It definitely feels like a Halloween movie. The introduction of the Jamie character, the introduction of the Rachel character, the return of Loomis, all these things were done so well with part 4. And then part 5 comes out. And it feels rushed. It's not... It still kind of feels like a Halloween movie, but not exactly. The beginning of it picks up immediately right after the end of part 4. Where they throw the dynamite into the hole that they shot Michael into, but he crawls out of a cave and floats downriver before it goes off. Then a really strange thing, and I don't know if anybody else gets this or not, but the blind hermit that Michael takes up residence with for a year seems like a reference to the blind hermit from the original Frankenstein movie. And it's, you know, it seems like a strange reference to stick in this because the monster and Michael, I don't really see the similarities except for maybe body size kind of thing. But anyway, that's just one thing that bugs me about that one. There's so many things about this movie that bug me, but so yeah, Michael wakes up from a year-long coma, kills off the hermit who's been nursing him back to health for the last year, and goes out to try to kill his niece again. So the Jamie character was so good in part 4, and then in part 5 they have this psychic connection. yeah, it doesn't fit with the rest of the series. The rest of the series has been very grounded, save for that shitstorm that's part three. The rest of the series has been very grounded, and not all of a sudden there's this psychic link, and Jamie can't speak because Michael doesn't speak. Loomis, everything that they've established for this character, and the way that he acts in this one is just screaming and all in Jamie's face, and then the character of Rachel, who we fell in love with in the previous movie, is killed off unceremoniously in a lousy kill scene very early on in the movie, and is kind of almost forgotten about, just kind of thrown away. And her friend, everybody really hates Tina. I don't hate Tina. And actually, I like the arc that her character goes through in this. She's a ditz at the beginning of it, but at the end of it, she really steps up. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this 20-year-old movie, she steps up and sacrifices herself to save Jamie and her friend. That's something that character didn't seem like something that was in her character type when she's first introduced into it. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. You know. So I don't hate on Tina because of what she does in the end of it. But her friends and the little skit that they come out and do in front of the cops, and the cops, oh my god. The comic relief cops. So, all in all, this is a shit movie, and it's definitely number 4 on my list. So let's move on to number 3. Okay, so number 3 on my list on this one is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. Part 4 is such a downgrade from Part 3, and then here comes Part 5, and it's even further down the chute than that one. It really doesn't feel very connected. It doesn't flow very well. Freddy's comedy is even worse. It's a bad night out at a comedy club. This is the opening act. You know, this is the first comedian to walk out. He's the one who's going to warm up the audience and take the brunt because he's new and not good. That's what the lines in this one were written like. Yeah. It has one really cool kill in it. The other 2 are absolute crap. It only has 3 kills in the whole damn movie. So the aspiring model kill is not really very good. One of the kids in it's been to comic books, and Freddy pulls him into a comic book kind of scene, and and here's one, the MPAA and their infinite stupidity. He pulls him into a comic book, and at the end of it, he turns him into a two-dimensional piece of paper, and he's hacking and slashing up paper. There's chunks of paper flying around him. You know, he's swatting at it with the glove and all this shit. And the MPAA made them cut the scene where he cut the head off of a paper doll. Yeah. Really? But anyway, I don't think the decapitation of the paper kid was going to make that scene any better or any worse. It's a horrible, horrible scene. However, the boyfriend from the previous movie, Dan gets killed by being turned into a Terminator, almost. He's riding on a motorcycle, and the motorcycle just kind of starts going into him and into his flesh, and I'll give you that kill. That kill is good. Other than that, so the basic storyline to it, if you don't know, and again, it's a 20-something-year-old movie, you should know this by now. The girl from the previous movie, Alice, is pregnant with Dan's kid. It turns out that the fetus sleeps 70% of the day, so it's in a dream state, and Freddy somehow has come back from the mirror death and is now inhabiting the dreams of the baby, still in the womb, and he can affect, because the baby's dreaming constantly, he can use that to affect the real world. So Alice starts having time lapse, you know, dreaming while she's awake, but she's not actually dreaming. It's really weird. And like I said, it doesn't flow very well. Each of the different little things in the middle, each of the different dream sequences really feel out of place. They don't really flow. You can tell the second that it goes into a dream sequence, unlike the first one and the third one, and even some degree in the second one. Actually, a lot in the second one, too. Where it was seamlessly, and it took you a minute or even a second watch in some places to figure out where they fell asleep. Oh no, the second that it changes in this one. Half the time there's a big ass wormhole. So anyway, this movie is not good. The kills are bad, the comedy's bad. The friends are wooden at best, one-dimensional, defined by their job or their one quirk. And yeah, so it's really, like I said, these two were tough to separate. Honestly, the only reason that this one is higher than Halloween 5, because they're pretty much about even, is the fact that going from Halloween 4 to Halloween 5 is such a disappointment. Going from Nightmare 4, which wasn't good, to Nightmare 5, which was even worse, you kind of saw it coming. So, let's move on to number 2. So number 2 on my list on this one is Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. So many people out there hate this movie. And I'm going to say this right now. If the only reason that you hate this movie is because Jason's not in it, you're an idiot. Jason wasn't played by the same character more than... Actually, up to this point, he had never been played by the same character twice, or the same actor twice. He doesn't do that until 8, 9, and so on. So, you don't have a reoccurring actor in it. He never speaks. So it's not like you're having to deal with a different voice coming out from behind the mask. It's not like Freddy. So, hating on it just because Jason's not in it makes you an idiot. Period. I love this movie. So many people hate it, but I love it. Unlike the other movies on the list, this was a very light movie that the comedy lands. The family down the road, Ethel and Junior, are hysterical. Every scene that they're in is so good, so much fun. The actor that plays Tommy in this one does a very good job with it. I have no complaints about him in this. I do have complaints about this movie. Don't get me wrong, I do love it, but there are some things wrong with it. The scene with Demon and his girlfriend where they're singing to each other in the outhouse, that's great. That's comedy gold right there. Really, it is. It's or at least it is to me. I love it. It's great. Them damn enchiladas every time. Now, as far as drawbacks, Pam is a lousy final girl. She really is. She's boring. She doesn't really fit the mold of what was done in the what Amy Steele did in the second one. She doesn't fit the typical good girl's the one that survives mold. She's boring, and she's just not enjoyable to watch at any point in time on the screen. And my other one is, the one thing a lot of people like about this movie is one thing that I dislike about this movie, and that's Reggie the Reckless. I find him really obnoxious and annoying. All the things that I said, the low points in what Corey Feldman did in 4 are this guy's high points in the movie. He is mediocre when he's on his best moments. Um, the rest of the cast is mostly forgettable. Uh, you remember Violet. You remember the kid that stutters. Um, I don't remember her character's name, but we all remember Derek Voorhees for two very big reasons. Um, but it has some really good kills and it has a high kill count. There's enough off-screen and on-screen kills to make the kill count very high. Um, there are several scenes that are stuck in just to pad the kill count, but you don't mind. Or at least I don't. I think they're pretty good kills. The MPAA did kind of neuter some of the blood out of it, but you know what? They made up for it in quantity this time over necessarily gore, but they're still all good kills. So the twist at the end, a lot of people complain about that not being Jason. A lot of people complain about them setting up for Tommy to take over the role, and they didn't want that. There couldn't be any Jason but Jason. Really, it's a big dude in a hockey mask. It could be anybody. It doesn't matter. I think personally the twist of making Tommy have a psychotic break and take over the role of Jason at the end of it was good. I love the way that they went back to what they had done in part one and set it up as a murder mystery. I like the fact that Roy Jason isn't on screen constantly in the mask, so that it's so blatant that the blue stripe mask versus the red chevron mask. I like those elements of it. You know, the epilogue at the end where they have to go back and explain why it all happened. You know, it does definitely feel tacked on, but the reveal to me is fine. I don't have a problem with that. Excuse me. I don't have a problem with it being Roy. I get that he put the costume on, the mask on, in case somebody saw him. He was trying to frame Tommy. He stuffed all the bodies that he had killed into Tommy's room so that when they were found, it would look like it was Tommy. You know, it doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out what this dude's plan was. So, any people who hate on that and can't figure that out for themselves, yeah, I just don't get you. So for me, this is definitely number 2 on this list. I really enjoyed this movie, and if you look at it with a fresh set of eyes and stop fretting over whether it really is Jason or not, I think you will too. So let's move on to number 1. Okay, so number 1 on this list for me is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I really enjoy this film. Arlie Ermy in this film is awesome. Jessica Biel does a fair job. She's not a great actress, but that's not why she was hired. The kills in this are brutal. Cinematography is really good. The way it was shot is really good. The color filters and the way that the grading is done on it is really good. And I'm not one who notices stuff like that. But I noticed it in this one. And I really like the way they make it look. I don't have a hang up with them changing from Sawyers to Hewitts. The way that they set it up for this one where, you know, everybody who's around is part of this family, but they're still out in the middle of nowhere. I like the way that they handled that part of it. You know, there's a trailer off in the back 40. Well, when you have a large family plot that's been in families for years, a lot of times they'll sell off outlying lots of it, or give outlying lots of it, as it were, to other family members and let them live on it. I know a lot of people who didn't like the new house. I did. I thought the house looked really good. I thought it looked menacing. Being somewhat narrow, but being 2 stories like that, There's a thing about the cinematographer, who the cinematographer in this one was the guy who was the cinematographer in the original. Um, the infamous shot, the infamous low angle shot where you see, Pam walking up to the house, and it's shot where the house looms above her, even though it's a very small house in the original. There's been several interviews with him where he said that he set that scene up to make it look like the house was going to pounce on her. Well, this one being a thinner house like this one is, but being 2 stories like that, it actually gives you that impression every time that the camera goes towards it. Every time that they walk towards it. And then there is, of course, the callback scene where it's shot low angle like that. And in that one, it really does make it look that way. As I said, R. Lee Ermey comes off as such a menacing character, such a genuinely menacing character, that he really and truly rivals Leatherface in this. The Leatherface in this is huge. He is definitely imposing. He does not need the chainsaw to intimidate somebody, but then you put that big weapon in his hand, and it just makes it all that much more intense. We see Leatherface's face pretty clearly in this one when he changes from the mask that he's wearing at the beginning of it to a mask that he makes during the course of the movie, which is actually from one of the teenagers' faces. And then the scene where that's actually revealed, where he turns and looks at the camera and the character, and it's got that face on. Okay, I don't really get creeped out with these kind of movies, but yeah, that's pretty creepy. On that one, they really did a good job with making that face. So, all in all, as far as everything goes, this is one that I really enjoy, and for me, this is definitely number 1 on my list on this one. So that's it for me on this week. That was our ranking of the Part 5s. I am not looking forward to next week for Part 6. I'm really not. So, yeah, anyway, if everything goes well this week, the recipe video should be up on Friday, and we'll be back on Monday with the ranking of the Part 6s. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget the merch store down below. My personal links down below for my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff. And then, of course, my fiance's Vinted link and my PayPal link if you want to help support the channel. All those stuff is down below in the description. As always, any video that I do is done that way. Don't forget to follow me on Letterboxed. And as always, y'all have a good one.